The lake was still that afternoon, the kind of stillness that feels almost deliberate, as if the world had collectively agreed to give me some peace. Sunlight shimmered off the glassy surface, dappling my desk through the cabin's wide windows. The gentle creak of the dock outside and the occasional trill of a loon were the only sounds. My little cabin office, a converted fishing shack with cedar-paneled walls and the faint scent of pine, had become my favorite hideaway. Here, deadlines felt less menacing, and my coffee somehow tasted richer. I had just reached the most critical part of my report when the tranquility shattered, quite literally, with the slam of the front door. Before I even turned around, I knew. There was only one person in the entire HOA capable of entering a room with the combined force of a gavel and a battering ram. Karen, she didn't so much walk in as march, a storm front of indignation wrapped in floral print and oversized sunglasses. Her iconic clipboard clutched like it contained the Magna Carta. The sharp click of her heels on the wooden floor punctuated every step. "We need to talk," she announced, her voice slicing through the air like a cold wind. She didn't bother with pleasantries or a knock. Karen was not a woman who believed in knocking. Her eyes, magnified behind her tinted lenses, scanned the room as though she was assessing the crime scene of the century. "I have had 3 separate complaints about your situation," she began, tapping her pen against the clipboard with a rhythm that felt more accusatory than musical. "First of all, those porch chairs completely non-regulation. We have a community color palette for a reason, you know? Bright red is simply unacceptable. This isn't a carnival." She paused only to take a breath before diving into her second offense list item. "And the flower pots. I've never seen such audaciously large sunflowers. They're practically advertising themselves to wildlife. Do you want to invite raccoons into our neighborhood? Because that's how you invite raccoons?" I opened my mouth to explain that my porch chairs were a gift from my late uncle and that the sunflowers were part of a pollinator-friendly project endorsed by, ironically enough, the county. But before I could get a word in, Karen steamrolled on. And finally she said, lowering her voice to a conspiratorial hiss, "I've been informed by multiple reliable sources that you've been allowing guests to park without a permit. Now, I don't know what kind of rebellion you're trying to incite here, but the HOA cannot function if people just do whatever they want." She straightened, clearly pleased with her build-up to this climax, her pen poised as if ready to jot down my signed confession. In that moment, I realized Karen wasn't simply complaining. She was conducting a one-woman inquisition. Her energy was unstoppable, like a wind-up toy set loose in a china shop. But something changed when mid-lecture. Her gaze drifted past me toward the far corner of the room. The color drained from her face as her mouth fell slightly open, words dying mid-breath. She blinked once, twice, her body going strangely still. There, seated in my favorite leather armchair near the wood stove, was Governor Harris himself. The faint glow from the firelight gave his face a warm cast, softening the sharpness of his suit and tie. His jacket was draped casually over the back of the chair, his sleeves rolled up, as if he were just another neighbor stopping by for coffee. He held a steaming mug in one hand and a yellow legal pad in the other, jotting notes in his precise handwriting. It wasn't every day you saw the state's highest elected official making himself comfortable in a tiny lake cabin. But that was the kind of man Harris was. More likely to meet you at a bait shop than a marble-floored office. Karen's transformation was instant and almost theatrical. One second, she was an unshakable whirlwind of HOA authority. The next, she looked like a high schooler caught skipping class by the principal. Her grip on the clipboard loosened, the pen trembling just enough to betray her nerves. "Governor Harris," she breathed, the syllables clumsy in her mouth. She removed her sunglasses so quickly they caught in her hair, and for a moment she fought a silent battle to untangle them while maintaining some semblance of dignity. The governor looked up from his notes and smiled, slow, genuine, and just shy of amused. "I take it you're here to discuss important matters?" he asked, his voice smooth but with an undertone that hinted he'd already heard most of the story. His gaze held hers for just long enough to remind her that while she might rule the HOA board, there were bigger political leagues in town. Karen, to her credit, attempted a recovery. "Oh, well, you see, Governor, I was simply welcoming our residents, ensuring everything here meets the highest standards, she stammered, her usual ironclad authority dissolving into something more like polite small talk. She even tried to laugh, a short, brittle sound that seemed to hang in the air like a faulty smoke alarm. Of course, we value everyone's contributions to the community, especially conservation efforts. She latched onto the word as if it were a life raft, nodding enthusiastically in my direction. The governor's eyes flicked to me, his smile widening just slightly. That's good to hear, because we were just discussing a conservation grant. That could benefit this entire area, one that might even cover improvements to public spaces. He let that sentence land with the weight of a subtle warning. Karen nodded so vigorously I feared for her neck. Oh, absolutely, we're all tremendously supportive. I'll just leave you two to your important work. She took a cautious step backward, then another, the heels that had once punctuated her authority now tapping a retreat. As she reached the door, she muttered something about urgent matters elsewhere and slipped outside so quickly she nearly left one of her kitten heels behind. The door clicked shut. For a moment, silence reclaimed the room. Then the governor chuckled, a deep, easy laugh that seemed to wipe away the tension. I think, he said, taking another sip of coffee, I just witnessed local politics in its purest form. Couldn't help but laugh with him, the lake outside shimmering as if in quiet agreement.